Welcome back, everybody, to the 2017 Bridgewater's Finest Movie Awards. It is Thursday if you're following along at home, or if you're watching ahead of time. We are starting the main, ahead of time, behind the times, whatever, you know what I meant. We're starting the main event, folks. The top 30 best movies of 2017. But, look, anyone that's steeped in video production or television production, you know that a bunch of our videos are filmed all at the same time. We're not going along with, filming one a day or anything like that, but you'll notice on all of our videos up to this point, just kind of feels like something's missing.
Something feels off.
It does feel off. Well, we're going to change that. We're going to rectify that right now.
Donuts.
Now we're ready. So our top 30 best movies of 2017 is going to be performed in two parts. Your video today is going to include our honorable mentions. We have 10 apiece that just didn't quite make the list, and we'll say a little word or two, just some word association, I guess, with those particular movies, and sort of tell you what we sort of around where we rated them. And this video is also going to include number 30 through number 11. So we're going to go from 30 to 11 in this video. And tomorrow is going to be the real main event, which is the top 10. And along with that, we got a couple of extra little treats that we're going to throw in that video, because who doesn't want to see more content from us talking? And yes, there will likely be donut eating throughout this video. All right, folks, I'm going to kick things off with my honorable mentions, then we're going to go over to Tyler's honorable mentions, and then we're going to get started with number 30 through number 11 on each of our lists. This is undoubtedly going to be the longest single video of the entire awards. Yep. So sit back, grab your popcorn, let's have some fun. So my honorable mentions, I have, of course, we both picked 10, so we're both sticking with 10 honorable mentions. 5 of mine I've rated 70 out of 100, and 5 of them I've rated 75 out of 100. So my 5 70s, we'll begin with those, are Murder on the Orient Express. I thought it was a really good remake. Kenneth Branagh, I liked his performance. His direction was adequate. Really good cast that I think he got pretty good performances out of. It was fun. It was entertaining. I guess we're gonna see more of the Poirot, Detective Poirot. I'm not 100% sure that I ever need to see him play that character again, but you know what? The next one, I'll certainly give it a shot. Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Men Tell No Tales. I'm a Javier Bardem mark. Yeah, like I actually really unironically enjoyed it. I thought it was the best one, arguably, since the first one, maybe. Because like that first Pirates of the Caribbean movie is a really entertaining movie.
It is a really entertaining movie. This shit?
No, you know what? I really enjoyed it. And
we're starting this off with a bang.
Pretty much. I mean, look, it didn't make my top 30, but, I did definitely enjoy it. It was one of the best of my 70s, and again, I'm a mark for Javier Bardem. Ghost in the Shell, we talked about it a little bit earlier in an earlier video. ScarJo, again, that movie doesn't get made without Scarlett Johansson, not with that budget and looking as good as it did. I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was exciting. I thought it was good for what it was.
We're like two of the only people on the planet.
It seems that way because everybody, I think that was one of those movies that everybody walked in, or a lot of people walked in just wanting to dislike it because of the casting controversy. I didn't do that. I enjoyed it for what it was as a movie.
Just a fun sci-fi movie.
Exactly. The Only Living Boy in New York, Jeff Bridges is master. Is just like a modern day savant with the characters that he performs, and it's literally just the story about this guy, this fairly privileged guy living in kind of a gentrified part of New York City, and he befriends this other older gentleman who lives in his building, winds up finding out, spoilers, that he's a famous writer. And it's just about this kid basically adapting to trying to be an adult on his own in New York and trying to make it. So, but it was, again, really interesting to watch, and Jeff Bridges is just amazing, just in general. And my last 70 is Maudie. We talked about it before. Maud Lewis. More culturally significant in this part of the world for sure. And a special screw you to the Premier of Nova Scotia, Stephen McNeil. Because you took away the film tax credit, this movie about a Nova Scotian painter had to be filmed in Newfoundland because the production could save more money. So thank you very much for screwing us out of a very culturally significant movie actually being filmed in the proper province.
I was a little surprised by Monty because I saw it with you, and
Yeah.
like, I really didn't want to say it, but it was
Yeah.
good. It was good. I give it a 70, I think, as well. The performances were great.
Yeah,
Yeah, Monty was better than I thought it was going to be.
So now we'll move to my 75s. Again, I have 5 of them, and it's just the 5 that didn't make my top 30 list. I only have, I think, 3 or 4 75s that actually made my top 30. So these are the ones that just didn't quite make the cut. It Comes at Night, starring his boyfriend, Joel Edgerton. It's one of his boyfriends.
It's funny just because I don't even know how he became my boyfriend.
I don't know.
Just one day. I mean, don't get me wrong. I like him. He's
Yeah.
great.
The movie's is slow, like it's slow, and it feels like not a lot happens. But in the second half, like the darker the movie gets, the better the movie gets. It takes a pretty satisfying, like, psychological turn in the second half of the movie. And the longer it goes on, the more interesting it becomes. A lot of times movies like this can lose steam as they go, but this only picked up steam and became more interesting. So I wound up really enjoying it. Dunkirk, we talked about earlier as well. I wanted it to be more than it was. It was still great, and it's great in terms of an in-theater experience. But, like, that movie holds almost no value watching it at home.
I think it's his weakest movie.
There you go. Yeah, again, it's a movie that I'm glad that I saw in theaters. If I was going to see it, yeah, you had to see it in theaters. I just think it wasn't its own best version. Just thought it could have been better, but still ended up obviously enjoying it because it made the honorable mentions. Wonder, Jacob Tremblay is excellent, as he usually is. Like, you know, with this and Room, I think he's building quite... it might be a short resume, but it's been a fairly impressive one. And it's the least punchable that Owen Wilson has ever been on screen. So I'm like, hey, that's an accomplishment in and of itself. Just not great. I found that, like, you can do conflict in kids' movies, but I found that, like, every conflict in this movie had either an immediate resolution or, like, all the resolutions to all the conflicts were just so crazy convenient.
They did show things, like, a bunch of characters from their viewpoint. Because I going in, I thought it was just going to be from the one kid's viewpoint, right?
Right.
As I think you did too, because they didn't really hint at that, but then we got to see it from the perspective of different characters.
Yeah,
And I thought that was a smart choice.
Yeah, I liked the narrative style too.
Yeah,
that it did kind of, you almost like you relived the same day from like 4 different perspectives, which I thought was kind of cool. Colossal, Anne Hathaway and Jason Sudeikis, I think it was.
Can't remember.
I think it was Sudeikis. Probably one of the most interesting movies that I've seen all year. The idea of this girl returning to her hometown and somehow unwittingly becoming the cause of destruction in Japan by a giant monster. Again, it just really, really interesting. I think it was Sudeikis, and he actually kind of goes a little insane in the movie, and he plays it really well. Like, he's like, I think of Sudeikis as like a comedy guy only.
Yeah.
But then in this, where he can kind of be like, it's kind of comedic, but it's also like pretty dark.
I don't really like Colossal that much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was okay.
Yeah.
I think I gave it like a 65. So it was decent on my scale, like a passing grade. It was
Yeah.
fine. But what I do want to say is, you're completely right, it is probably one of the more interesting movies, and I was just reading my review, and I agree with myself. I said, even though this movie didn't really click for me like it did for quite a few people, because I kept seeing this pointed as movies you gotta see this year.
Yeah.
I think everyone should go see it. because we should always support fun, original ideas.
Yeah.
Even if I don't think I thought this was kind of up and down, but we should always support movies like this because they are doing something a little fresh.
And the last honorable mention, and I thought I'm gonna close this with a bang.
Good.
And this just barely, had I not seen one of the movies that actually is going to wind up fairly high on this list, this probably would have made it. And this was kind of through like reorganizing some of my rankings. Lady Bird. Lady Bird just barely fell off. And it's not that I didn't like it. I certainly liked it. I mean, I gave props to Saoirse Ronan, and Greta Gerwig, I think, deserves props for, if nothing else, the screenplay. But it was a fun movie. I've seen better coming-of-age movies, and I think maybe that was the problem. Like, a coming-of-age movie now almost has to be, like, one of the best or most noteworthy coming-of-age movies in order for me to really enjoy it. And that's on me. That's my problem and my bias and my perspective on the type of movie. Had, if this was a little bit better, it would have made my list for sure.
Damn, and the internet, everyone's like...
And everyone on the internet hates me.
Because everyone loves Lady Bird.
I do. But I love Saoirse Ronan. Tell me about your honorable mentions, Tyler.
Oh, we're giving all our ons first?
Might as well give all the ons first.
Alright, let's do this. Okay, this is an 80. My number 10 honorable mention is Mother. A very controversial film.
Speaking of Jennifer Lawrence.
Because it was marketed with, like, dog shit.
Yeah.
Maybe the worst marketing of the year. Because it's not a horror movie. It's an art house film.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's Aronofsky's best by any means, but I actually enjoyed it. Another 80 is Okja. A nice little movie that was on Netflix. I wish I would have done my research to remember who the director was, but he did something else that was quite good. Mm-hmm. But anyway, good performance by the lead girl. And I love a movie where it's just this, like, a little girl with her animal that she loves, and they're trying to take the animal away because it's this big gigantic thing, and right. Humans are evil, and she just wants to save her pet. Like, that speaks to me. And then my number 8 is another 80, Alien Covenant. The best alien movie in a while. Had enough xenomorph that it really was an alien movie, while also embracing the AI direction that Ridley Scott wants to go, but not overdoing it. Like, if he can strike that balance, then I don't mind him kind of putting more emphasis on the AI aspect, but don't take away the xenomorphs. Yeah, then number 7 is also an 80, and this one hurts me. I mean, still liked it, obviously, but this hurts me so much. My number 7 is Kingsman: The Golden Circle. Because you know me. I think the first Kingsman is arguably the greatest action movie of all time.
And I think there's a case to be made for it.
Like, I love the first one, and I give this an 80. I liked it, but I was really disappointed because I just wanted more of the same. And from the beginning scene, I thought, oh, here we go. This is more. But then they lost it.
Yeah.
And like... I guess I should have said this earlier, but, like, I saw more movies than this guy.
Yeah, that's
this
true.
year, so, like, my honorable mentions are rated higher. Okay, so my number 6 is an 85. So starts the 85s. It's A Silent Voice. It's a cheater pick. It's a Japanese animated movie. A coming-of-age tale, teenagers. The teenage politics are pretty spot on in this. And there's a better Japanese animated movie that was also a cheater pick that I won't mention now. He probably knows what it is.
I do.
But A Silent Voice is really good. It's emotional. The story's not as weird as that other movie, so I kind of prefer that other one. My number 5, the rest of these honorable mentions are all 85s. Shot Caller, which I mentioned in another video. It's just like a guy gets released from prison and goes through his life having to do some stuff. And it's a fun little drama that
goes through his life having to do stuff.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to spend too much time on these honorable mentions.
You're right,
so that was a real shit description. But
it's kind of like my description for The Only Living Boy in New York. Is this this guy and he's doing stuff.
Number 4 is Thelma, which I mentioned before. It's like a science fiction movie about this girl who has these special abilities that kind of get unlocked when, and bear with me, when she realizes she has lesbian feelings for someone. That's really silly, alright? I'm gonna call a spade a spade. That premise is silly as fuck, but you gotta work past that and just accept it as like a pretty dark, compelling movie where things don't always happen as you'd expect. A good performance from the lead girl, an excellent soundtrack.
Lesbian superheroes.
Lesbian superheroes, but it's not quite that simple.
Right.
Number 3, honorable mention, is Atomic Blonde. Fun little spy movie. It's not quite what I wanted it to be, but I rated it an 85, so obviously I really liked it.
Right.
Number 2, here's a lesser known. It's called Bad Day for the Cut. It's about this guy. It's a revenge movie, basically. I've seen a bunch of those. That's going to be a reoccurring thing. I've seen a bunch of like revenge movies because that's like a genre I like. It's a simple premise, right?
Yeah.
So bad shit happens to someone. He goes out. He wants to make them pay. It's a very simple premise. It works for me. It's one of those things I really like. This one was fun because he was an older guy and he wasn't like some trained special agent. He was just some random guy. So like his revenge was a little clumsy and stuff. Not a comedy, but it was just kind of clumsy, so that kind of added to the drama.
Right.
Seek out Bad Day for the Cut, that's good. And my number 1 is a movie that I know you like, The Hitman's Bodyguard. That movie was so much better than I expected. That was legitimately a really funny buddy movie with great chemistry from the 2 leads, and I came out of that being like, holy shit, like I expected maybe like a 65, 70, but I really liked it, and not a lot of people really liked it.
No, that was one of those movies that almost made the cut for me for I expected less.
Yeah.
Because I did not expect to come out of that movie being like, wow, like that was like, I really, and like there's a good comparison with that movie to another movie that I really liked, The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Yes.
Like, I mean, we both love Ryan Reynolds, obviously.
I've been on a Reynolds train since before Deadpool, just for the record. I've always thought he was a good actor that kind of picked
bad roles, yeah. And I mean, like, you know, Samuel L. Jackson. I mean, it's just like, okay, great. Like, I'm on board for this. But I don't, like you said, neither of us, I don't think, really expected to like that movie as much as we did.
No, it was a good movie.
Now that the honorable mentions have been taken care of, folks, it's time to get started. The top 30 best movies of 2017. And of course, we're going to be doing our back and forth, 1, 1, 1, 1. And we're going to keep going in this video all the way until we reach our number 11 best movies of 2017. And the video tomorrow, the Friday video, is the real main event, the top 10. Plus some extras.
So my number 30 is a documentary called City of Ghosts. I'm just going to read the summary right quick.
Starting things off classy with a doc.
Alright, so the summary, according to Criticker.com, a documentary that follows the efforts of Raqqa, I can't remember, is being slaughtered silently. A handful of anonymous activists who banded together after their homeland was taken over by ISIS in 2014. Now let me say this.
Okay.
There are better edited documentaries. There's things that they could have maybe went into more detail about, so it's not like this perfect documentary, whatever. But this is one of those movies where it seems like it's a disservice to even rate it. So like when I was coming up with my rating, I gave it an 85, but it seemed weird to me because this documentary is so important because it's about these people risking their lives to combat ISIS that like, fuck my rating, just go see it. Right? Like just go see it because it's informative, it's important. It's one of those movies that's kind of above criticism in the sense of like, that's really not what's important here. Like, if you felt like they were straight up lying about this, then okay, there'd be a different discussion. But you feel like the documentary is pretty honest, and these are literally people's lives. So like, I'm just gonna leave it at that. There. That's my number 30, City of Ghosts.
What a somber beginning.
I know.
All right.
I know.
Okay. My number 30 is not nearly as serious or important as that. My number 30 is American Made.
Oh, that's more important.
Tom Cruise vehicle that kind of takes place during the Iran-Contra affair, and really focuses on like the Medellin cartel and cocaine, as they call it, cocaine. This is a movie that like could have, and some people criticized it for not doing this, could have taken itself very seriously, because I mean it was based on true events and real people that did exist, and they're like, well, you could have played this. Like, the movie should have played it more seriously with consideration to real people. I mean, this would have been a far worse movie. Like, best Tom Cruise 2017 is always played with kind of like a little twinkle in the eye, right?
Because he's openly admitted, he just wants your family to have fun at the movies. That's
exactly.
That's his whole goal. That's why he doesn't do like movies where where the performance is going to be this amazing thing that's going to win awards because he could.
Right.
He just was like, I want you to have fun.
He would rather do, to put this in the parlance of Leonardo DiCaprio.
The parlance.
The parlance of Leo. He would rather do Wolf of Wall Street than The Revenant. It's lighthearted, but still has like a minor sense of like stakes, and like things are at stake in this movie. And I feel like it strikes a good enough balance between like, honest storytelling and popcorn entertainment. And that's right where Tom Cruise kind of wants to be. He's like, he wants to tell a story, but he wants you to enjoy your movie. It doesn't tell the story 100% accurate. No. But I looked this up. Do you know how many documentaries there are on Iran-Contra and the Medellin cartel and all this? There's a lot of them. And you can seek those out if you want a deep dive story into the things that this movie has. Like, you should seek those out because a number of them are really, really good. I kind of just enjoyed like a kinetic, entertaining, fun movie at a rating of 75 out of 100. American Made is my number 30 best movie of 2017.
Yeah, I have this thing where with these movies that take like a true story and fictionalize it, I have this thing where like I don't need it to be accurate because it's not marketed as nonfiction.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna watch this and have a good time hopefully, and then if I'm that interested in it, I'll just read about it or find some movie or whatever that actually is more nonfiction. So like I never have an issue with it's not that accurate. I had a lot of fun with it. It's one of those movies I'm glad exists because I want to watch it once. Yeah. And I want to have a good time. Absolutely. And I come out being like I had a good fucking time. My number 29, also in 85, is a movie called Brigsby Bear, which I didn't know a whole lot about it going in. Basically, just about a guy.
But it's got an animal in it, so you gave it a 90.
That's very good. That's basically it. And now it's just about this guy who grows up kind of cut off from the world, but he grows up on this show, Brigsby Bear's Adventures, I think it's called. Like this really kind of cheesy movie that's like kind of teaching him life lessons, and he's trying to unravel this mystery of Brigsby Bear, and it kind of goes, there's an angle in that movie that I didn't see coming. So it was kind of good. Like it had a little bit of drama, but it didn't really get caught up in it too much. It kind of just examined the main character and his psychological state. But one thing I loved was like, I want to see more of the Brigsby Bear show. Because that shit was interesting. Like, they would show clips of it, and I was like, this stuff is kind of fun. But yeah, that's my number 29, a Brigsby Bear.
And that one was in 85 as well? These
85, yeah, okay, a lot of these are 85.
A lot of these are 85, right on, cool. Continuing the Tom Cruise train, my number 29 best movie of 2017 was The Mummy, and that was the one that shocked me the most. This is probably the one that shocks me, like, someone's going to be watching these and be like, Lady Bird wasn't in your top 30, but the Mummy was.
Oh, man, I knew you liked it. I just didn't know it was, like, top 30.
Here's how much I liked it. At the time when I did my review on Criticker, my 75, I gave it a 75 out of 100. My 75 was the highest score. I kind of expected to go in and dislike a movie that shouldn't be taking itself seriously, but is. That was my expectation. As I walk into the theater, I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to crap on this because look, it's going to be like a slam dunk to be in my bottom 5 this year. Like, this is going to be really, really bad. And yet I walked out after an hour and 45 minutes or whatever it was, being like, that was really lighthearted, that was fun, and at the same time, I bought into the universe. Like, I bought into what it was very obviously trying to build towards, which was, obviously, the Dark Universe, which apparently is now dead.
Apparently.
It was just that movie on its own. And again, it's one of those movies that I think if you walk into it going like, no, this better be just like the original, or like the
Really?
Brendan Fraser The Mummy, this better be just like it. That's just the wrong attitude to walk into that movie with. And on its own, I just thought the movie was a lot of fun. So at a rating of 75 out of 100, The Mummy is my number 29 best movie of 2017. Hey, where are you going?
I would like a cool little horror movie cinematic universe. That would be different.
Yeah.
That'd be fun, but we didn't get it, and I'm okay with that. Alright, my number 28, another 85, is Lucky, which I mentioned in another video. I don't really actually have a whole lot to say about it because like so much of it was built on the things I already mentioned about like David Lynch's character, talking about his tortoise. I love that. Harry Dean Stanton, great performance. This movie is just like a quaint little movie, not even with much drama, just an old man going about his rounds, going to stores he's been going to probably for 60 years.
Right.
An atheist, so obviously he doesn't believe in an afterlife, but he's coming close to death because he's like 90. Not the most exciting movie at all, but a really good one. It's not one of these movies you go, all right, here's the plot.
Right.
Da 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 da, and then people think, oh shit, that sounds awesome, because it doesn't. It doesn't sound awesome.
The plot: man goes to grocery store.
Yeah, man goes to grocery store, talks about life a little, gets mad at some people, just an old cranky man.
Then goes to coffee shop.
He goes and talks to his friend about a tortoise. Because Stanton was David Lynch's like a good friend, so like they got to be on screen again, like together and stuff. So that's a nice little thing that really has nothing to do with the actual movie, but still kind of a nice little thing. So my number 28 is Lucky.
Okay. My number 28 best movie of 2017. If I haven't already made you guys leave with back-to-back Tom Cruise movies, this one might make him get up and walk out. My number 28 best movie of 2017, I think he'll be happy that it made the list, but it's going to piss him off that it's so low, The Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Fuck you.
Pretty much.
I wasn't sure if he'd like it anyway, and I was
Right.
like, if Justin does like it, he's not going to love it.
Right.
Because that's more of a me movie.
It is. Like, I mean, I do love movies that are tone-driven. And, like, I like a little weird. I think you like weirder than that.
I like a lot weirder.
Right?
than
And that's like really what this movie is. Is it supernatural? Fucking we don't know. Like, is this kid a superhero? We don't. This kid could be Donnie Darko for all we know. Like we don't really know. Now the one thing that obviously we talked about the director Lanthimos before. Very Kubrickian. I guess that would be the way that you would describe it. Again, like he was Kubrick. Right down to, but not including the climactic scene in the bathroom. If he would have done that, it would have been like, okay, this is just a ripoff.
Yeah.
No, but like his direction in this is great, and like the movie starts, and I'm like, I'm so tense. It doesn't key you, like it doesn't clue you into anything menacing going on until about the halfway point, and you're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
and it's it's a great reveal, and the reveal. When he just exposition fairies exactly what's happening is actually great. And like I usually don't like that exposition fairy stuff. Like the cues with the music and the way the movie's shot, and again the directorial style, the decisions that were made in those things, it all contributes to this movie makes you feel dreadful. So it's one of those movies that I would argue is probably even more experiential than story driven. Like it's driven more by what you feel, what you perceive, what your reactions are, rather than the actual narrative of the story. Based on that, I would probably describe the movie as kind of inaccessible to just your average kind of moviegoer. Was challenging to me, but it was pleasantly challenging to me. I enjoy movies that are challenging in that same way. So I had a rating of only 75 out of 100, but it did still make the list. The Killing of a Sacred Deer, my number 28 best movie of 2017.
That's a good choice. So mine...
I feel like Tyler's making notes.
Well, we talked about
Address
Killing
this
of a
shit
Sacred
later.
Deer so much that I'm kind of really new to things. Alright, so my number 27 is another cheater.
Mm-hmm.
I'm cheating all over the place. It's another documentary.
Ooh.
Might be the last documentary on the list.
He's 2 docs and 4 picks.
Critica recommends documentaries for me all the time. So my number 27, rated an 85, is a movie called Ketty. Now this is about street cats in, I can't remember what country, but it's like, I think, a Middle Eastern country. And all it is people sitting around talking about these cats that roam the streets and videos of the cats and the interactions between the cats. So you watch it, right, and it kind of makes you drop your critical guard a little, because like, aw, kitties. You know?
Right. Yeah,
it has that going for it. It's like, oh, cats, how can I be critical of this movie? These people are talking about cats like they're gods, because they're talking like about how important these cats existing. And like that spoke to me. I'm going to throw in a spoiler for the very ending scene, so go away, da-da-da-da-da.
Spoilers.
Can't remember who was saying it, but there's a quote set to really beautiful music and a montage of cats and human interacting, or just cats just doing cat things, which is awesome. There's a quote: "A cat meowing at your feet, looking up at you, is life smiling at you. Those are the moments when we're lucky. They remind us that we're alive." Ooh. And that's how the movie ends. Oh. And that is so...
It's kind of beautiful.
It's so awesome. This documentary, but my documentaries have been so drastically different.
Yeah.
You know, the internet loves cats. Everyone loves cats. So, yeah, that's all I really have to say about Ketty. Ketty is my number, 27?
My number 27 best movie of 2017 is my first 2016 cheater that I'm actually going to talk about in depth. I mean, there was Maudie, which would have counted as a cheater. Yeah. That is a cheater. And I think Colossal might be a cheater as well. I think that was a 2016.
Yeah, it was.
But this is the first 2016 cheater that I'm going to be talking about in depth, and it's Personal Shopper. Personal Shopper, starring an actress that I think deserves more credit than she will ever get based on the fact that she played Bella.
That's exactly what it is.
That's exactly what it is. Well, Kristen Stewart.
Think about how Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson, how their careers have just gone because Robert Pattinson, not to interrupt you, is taking on challenging roles in movies. Yeah. And Kristen Stewart, same thing.
Right, exactly. So Personal Shopper is a story of this sister-brother duo. The brother dies, and the two of them were very involved with the studies of the paranormal. But as her day job, she's a personal shopper for a Parisian celebrity. And it's tonally, this movie, tonally, T-O-N-A-L-L-Y, tonally, this movie's really interesting. Because it kind of pops back and forth between, psychological thriller, which is kind of the crux of the movie itself, and this weird, Woody Allen-style Parisian love letter. Because there's just these long glory shots of Paris. And it's just it feels like Woody Allen directed this movie. And don't get me wrong, that's a feature. That's not a criticism of the movie, that's a feature. The movie's tense. And when it's tense, when it gets really tense, it does that really well. It's not a jump scare type of movie. It's just a movie that has these incredible moments of tension and does them, again, really, really well. On tone alone, this movie is incredibly watchable. Add to that the fact that Kristen Stewart gives a pretty good performance. It's a kind of an erotic performance in certain ways, but it's just a really, really good performance in total. Sorry.
Speaking of erotic, in my review, I was in brackets, obligatory tits ×2 shout out because male.
It's true. It's true.
You saw her tits twice.
You saw her tits twice in that movie. I thought the narrative of the movie was really nuanced. It's not a straightforward kind of thing. It's there's periods of who's doing what, and when I say who's, I actually mean plural. It's who's actually doing what, and why is this happening, and what's happening in this exactly. And it's an interesting narrative. It's a nuanced narrative. It's not the best movie of the year, but it's probably the one that kept me thinking the longest after having watched it. So at a rating of 75 out of 100, Personal Shopper is my number 27 best movie of 2017.
I think that's one of the movies I watched because you watched it.
Yeah.
I believe. You're like, you should watch this. Like, okay, so I did. I don't have a whole lot to add. I don't love it as much as you.
Mm-hmm.
I said I appreciate the genre flipping. Making a drama / ghost story / horror / stalker film is interesting. All right, my number 26, also in '85, is a movie called Gook.
Yes.
And I can say it because it's
the title of the movie. We can't get around it.
So this is basically a movie about some Korean American brothers who run like a shoe store in a neighborhood that's not so great. So it's got a little bit of social realism to it. Shot in black and white. It's really kinetic, beautifully shot. There was a person I saw described it as a hybrid of Clerks and La Haine, which was a French movie that was really good.
Yeah.
It kind of leads you down a certain road of expectations that you might expect, but the way it's executed is so unique with great performances, lots of punching and kicking. Man, these people are getting beat up a lot in this movie. It's a movie that people should seek out because, I mean, it does everything that you would want from a film really well. Like, yeah, it doesn't have like star-making performances, but the people are really believable. The drama is good. There's some funny bits here and there, but it's not really a comedy, but there are some funny parts, and it does kind of show some fucked up stuff going on. And it's kind of nice to see a movie that kind of deals with racism, but it's not just black people, you know? Like, don't get me wrong, those stories are important, but there's other races like have that issue, and like these like Korean Americans are dealing with that kind of thing as well. So yeah, my number 26 is Gook.
My number 26, I'm once again following up a movie of his that actually probably has some important message with one that doesn't really have an important message at all. I was just super hyped over what it is and where it's going from here. My number 26 best movie of 2017 is Kong Skull Island.
Good movie.
Yeah, again, really good movie. I can't put it on the level of like Godzilla as a full feature. Like 2014's Godzilla was excellent. It was really, really good. So I can't put this on that same level, like as a complete feature. But I do have to admit that like the cast of characters that was in this movie were a lot more entertaining and more investment worthy than what we saw in Godzilla. In Godzilla, it's basically the monster, and then oh my god, I can't remember his name now. He has the trailer moment where he's just like, let them fight. No, I can't remember his name. It's totally gone now. But like, he's basically the only other real investment-worthy character in that movie. Whereas in this movie, you had like Tom Hiddleston, who's kind of a co-main character. You have John C. Reilly and Samuel L. Jackson, who basically steal the show in every scene that they're in this movie. So you have more investment-worthy characters in this one versus Godzilla. Skull Island's version of King Kong is a wholly sympathetic character from the first second that it's on screen. So apparently this is just the year that I really liked sympathetic non-human characters. I do wish, like, there's a part in this movie where we get to see, like, this culture of, like, these people on Skull Island. Yeah. And I kind of wish we would have gotten more of that. Like, another, like, 5 minutes, maybe, of just, like, seeing their culture and how these people are living. Like, because, I mean, obviously it's a culture that's been created from scratch. But it's one that I would have liked to have seen more of, because like, I kind of dig stuff like that. So I would have liked to have seen more of that. But I mean, what we got was fine, but I kind of would have wished we would have seen a little bit more. And obviously, bring on the crossover, and that's the reason that I keep talking about Godzilla and comparing it to Godzilla, is this leads us to Godzilla versus Kong. And that I can't wait for. Like, that's just one that, like, the monster movie fan in me, the tiny little monster movie fan in me is just, like, pounding on the walls of my chest, just being like, let them fight! So I can't wait for. Out of my first rating of 80 out of 100, Kong Skull Island is my number 26 best movie of 2017.
That the director, this was kind of his first attempt at, like, a bigger movie, which is important because he's the one that's currently tapped to make the Metal Gear Solid movie.
Really?
I've been waiting for so long.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And this guy understands the material. I just don't know if the movie will ever actually get made.
How badly do you want to see Papa Guillermo direct Godzilla vs. Kong. Yes!
He'd have a lot of fun with that.
He'd have a ton of fun with that. Anyways.
He'd have a lot of fun. Alright, so my number 25, also at an 85. I like this movie a little more than Justin, but still agree with his points. Is Lady Bird.
Ooh, okay.
Now, here's the thing. I have a friend, who I won't mention by name because he's kind of private. He sent me this trailer for Lady Bird, like, however long ago.
Yeah.
He's like, man, this looks really good. And I watched the trailer, I'm like, this doesn't. Like, this doesn't. It doesn't look that good. To me, it's like, okay, cool, we got another indie movie that's coming of age. Like, it could be really good. There's certainly been a whole bunch of really good ones. But I like Lady Bird, and what was great about it was I liked it more than I thought I was going to. I'm not in the camp of thinking this is amazing. I'm not in the camp of thinking Greta Gerwig deserves Best Director. Although, if you stretched out the list to maybe 10 or 15, like all-encompassing. Yeah, okay. It's not really a whole lot goes on in the movie, but it's all done well, and you kind of don't like Lady Bird. Like the character.
Yeah.
Because she's kind of just like one of those annoying like teens. But she does, but due to the quality of the writing and Ronan's performance, you do kind of start to be like, it's not so bad.
I remember. Yeah, I remember when I was watching it, I'm like, and this is a stupid criticism. I was flat out, this is a stupid criticism of a movie, but it was one that I gave. And I'm like, but at least I full well admitted that, I even admitted in the review this is a stupid criticism. This movie felt like it insisted upon itself. And you know what? Art insists on how important it is. But yeah, I'm just kind of like, man, this thing's insistent on itself. But the screenplay's really good and I really like her. So it's like, this is still enjoyable.
Oh yeah,
Don't get me wrong, this is
funny
still enjoyable.
moments.
Yeah, totally.
It's just like, I'm just not seeing it, like critics especially loving it. Like they're talking about pretty much the opening scene where she's in a car and she jumps out and they think, what a great scene. And I'm like, is that a great scene? I'm like, it was a good scene. It got a little chuckle out of me. Like,
Yeah.
Because I know the feeling. You're in a situation you don't want to be in and you want to throw yourself out of a car, but you don't. I get that the movie kind of played with that and she actually did it.
Right.
But yeah, Lady Bird is my number 25. I'll show it some love. So what's your next pick, Justin?
My number 25 is a movie that I think you mentioned in your honorable mentions, and that was The Hitman's Bodyguard.
Yeah,
and
buddy.
he said, I think Justin liked this, like we both liked this, I think he liked it a little bit more than I did, and it's in your honorables, and yeah, I got it as my number 25, and like I said, it reminds me so much of like The Man from U.N.C.L.E., based on the way it's shot, the chemistry between the leads. Everyone in this movie is way over the top in the way that they perform their characters, and that's good. That didn't weigh me down here because it's exactly what they wanted to go for. They wanted it to be a little bit over the top. They wanted it to be a little bit unrealistic, and that's what they went for, and that's what they did. So once again, that age-old Ebertian philosophy of judge a movie based on what it's trying to be. One thing I remember really loving about the movie is the chase scenes and the way that they were like the immaculate choreography of the chase scenes. They're done so well and they're designed so well. They're set up so well and they're executed just pretty well perfectly. It's one of those movies that like it doesn't demand that you see it in a theater. No. Like, it's not a movie that demands... You can have just as much fun watching this movie on your laptop.
You just turn on Netflix and just... If it's on Netflix and just
I'm sure it probably is by now. But it's certainly like on demand if you have like a PVR or something like that. It didn't demand that you see it in the theaters. Like, I mean, look, that's a criticism that I levied against Dunkirk. You have to see it in the theater to get enjoyment out of it. You can get enjoyment off this movie watching it on your phone if you really had to. Like, I mean, you'll enjoy this movie no matter where you're watching it. It's well-rounded. It's just, again, it goes right back to, it's just movie fun. So at a rating of 80 out of 100, The Hitman's Bodyguard is my number 25 best movie of 2017. Donut update, there's only one left.
All right, my number 24 is yet another cheater and yet another documentary.
Good lord.
Here's the thing, I get most of like the like important movies occupy like the first 10 or so, and then I start getting into some of the more just like pure fun movies.
Right.
It's a documentary called The Red Pill.
Oh, yes, I remember you talking about this.
Directed by Kathy J. This is a documentary about this feminist, Kathy J., who she decides she wants to go out and make a documentary about rape culture. Mm-hmm. So she starts looking up rape culture. And what website pops up? The men's rights movement. Because why not, right? Because they're abrasive and they're saying all this shit against feminism and they're fighting for men's rights and whatever, right?
Right.
So she's like, this is kind of interesting. Maybe I'll go down this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So then this documentary goes from being about rape culture to being about the MRA. What I love about the Red Pill so much is, like, it is backed by some stats, and it does tackle an issue of men's problems. And I know there's people in Europe who are like, oh, men's problems. But legitimate issues that men face that don't get talked about because, and rightfully so, women have had more oppression than, like, a white male. Like, I'll give them that, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean the men don't have their own issues that we face.
Right.
But what's interesting about the documentary to me is that she throws in these, like, basically vlogs of her reflecting on what she finds out after the interviews. Like, she shows interviews of feminists and men's rights people. Mm-hmm. But she takes in all this information, like probably hundreds of hours of content, and she makes these videos reflecting on what she's learned. And what's great about it is you see her go from a staunch feminist who has made documentaries about things related to feminism and whatnot, to not being a feminist anymore. Like, still obviously believing in women's rights.
Of course.
But not needing that tag of feminism, not following the doctrine of feminism that people hate on.
Right.
Which I'm not hating on. I'm not hating on feminism, like real feminism. I'm hating on the bullshit feminism. It works on the level of watching this filmmaker who she's visibly upset because her whole philosophy, what she believes in life, is crumbling around her. And she's embracing this movement that gets painted a certain way, but she's hearing from these guys about all this, and now she's like, I don't know what to think. And then eventually, I guess, spoiler, she comes around. I already ruined the movie. But that's why I think The Red Pill is a truly great documentary. Oh. Because it works on a couple levels. Because I like when a documentary sets out to do one thing, but then it kind of takes a swerve.
Yeah.
And becomes about something else. And she didn't have to put the parts with her in there, but the fact that she did, it made it more personal. And like I said, even if you hate the men's rights movement or anything like that, it's still interesting on the level of this is a one woman's personal journey.
Yeah.
This idea is that each sex has their own issues that they face.
Right.
And we should stop only focusing on one. Like, if you're a man, don't dismiss the women's problems, and if you're a woman, don't dismiss the men's problems. Because they both exist. Mm-hmm. Don't fight each other, because we are people, and we each face issues. That's all I'm saying.
My number 24, once again, I'm following up a film that has something to say with a film that we both wanted to say and do and be a lot more, and you talked about it a little bit earlier. My number 24 is Kingsman: The Golden Circle. And it's undeniable, I think. I know, first things first, rest in peace, Tyler's desires for the Kingsman sequel. Because, like, I mean, Kingsman means more to him as a movie, or the Secret Service movie, certainly, means a lot more to him than it does to me. It's undeniable that Golden Circle is, in pretty well every way, I think, a step down from the Secret Service.
Yeah.
And the one way that I think it was really like a step down, it doesn't have that statement scene, and we've talked about it a bunch. Yeah. It doesn't have that scene like the church scene from the first Kingsman, which is such a, like, it's a statement of dominance as a movie. That scene in that church, it's just like everything about it from the second that it starts, you're just like, okay, here we go. And like, that's letting the director and cinematographer and everything just completely off the leash and said, just make the best looking thing you possibly can. Yeah. What this movie does really well is, I think it has a good villain. I really like Julianne
Deserved
Moore.
better, even though I do like the movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, maybe.
Deserved a little better, but again, like I say, she was really good.
Yeah, she was good.
She plays crazy really well. Matthew Vaughn, the director, is still mostly on point.
Yeah.
There was nothing really that I thought was like, oh god, that's bad. From top to bottom, it's still a really good movie. It still has lots of places to go for the franchise. I look forward to where the franchise goes from here. At a rating of 80 out of 100, Kingsman: The Golden Circle is my number 24 best movie of 2017, and I think that even disappoints me that it's not at least inside the top 20.
Yeah, it disappoints me that it's not in my top 5.
I was gonna say, yeah, for you, for sure.
Channing Tatum was underused in that movie.
Channing Tatum was underused in that movie.
I wanted
he
to
came
see
in
more
as
of his...
a really good character, and then they're like, nah, we're just gonna cryogenically freeze him for the second half and be like,
that upsets me because he was a good character. The closest they come to the church scene is the beginning. It sucks because the beginning is so good though. Like he just walks through the building and then they get to business.
Right.
And I was like, that's so good.
All right, here they come.
Might be better than the original, but
Right.
it wasn't.
And then from there, it just bleh. Not bleh, but just drops.
I have my number 23 is another very important movie about responsibility, taking ownership of what you can do to better the world. At a rating of 85, it's Spider-Man: Homecoming. I gotta say this. I pretty much love every Marvel movie at this point. There hasn't been one in the past, I don't know how many years, that's gotten lower than an 80.
Right.
I'm not as in love with Spider-Man: Homecoming as some people, but there are things I do love about it. I think the beginning is really great, where he's like making the videos and stuff. I think that's a really great beginning. I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man. Since he showed up in Civil War, I was like, on point. They're doing Spider-Man as a character brilliantly.
Yep.
And that did not change in this movie. Michael Keaton as a villain.
Yes.
One of the better villains.
100%.
That scene in the car is a great scene.
Menacing. And absolutely. And we've talked about how weak villains is a genre problem.
Yeah.
And this is not a weak villain at all.
Yeah, exactly. And choosing superhero movies at this point is like choosing between your favorite kids.
It's
for
true.
me, because I am not suffering superhero fatigue in the least. I'm so glad that we live in this age. I think this is like a golden age of movies in a certain regard, because this is so cool how we're getting all these heroes. So Spider-Man: Homecoming, while not my favorite of the year, I will say one of the best portrayals of a superhero, though, because I really do like Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I am so happy, even though I'm not a Spider-Man nut. I haven't been since I was a kid.
Right.
Animated series and stuff, because I really love Spider-Man. Then I kind of got out of them. And Civil War was what brought me back, being like, oh shit, Spider-Man's really cool. So I'm glad they did Spider-Man really well for a full movie, and I look forward to seeing any Spider-Man thing that comes up in the future.
So my number 23 best movie of 2017 is the sequel to a movie that I think I didn't even quite give enough credit to at the time. It's John Wick Chapter 2. And I say I may not even be giving this movie quite enough credit, and in a couple years I'll probably feel that way. And all I'm going to do in discussing John Wick Chapter 2, because I think it's a movie you just need to watch and enjoy.
Yep.
All I'm going to do is I'm going to read basically verbatim what my review of this movie was on Critique.
Bring it on, John.
Bring it on. So, my review. The John Wick movies can best be described as video games. Wick is obviously the player character. Every single enemy he encounters is significantly weaker than he is, which is why he can beat up many at once. He can take many hits while enemies can only take a few. He faces a few mid-bosses that are a little tougher before he meets the final boss. This is not a criticism in any way. This is exactly the right way to do these movies.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel about the John Wick movies. I feel like they're like character action video games. And that's fantastic, because the second the movie starts, I'm just like, I'm going to have so much fun with this. I'm really going to enjoy this. And I don't care that he's not really put in danger until, like, the latter parts of the movie. He still gets beaten up, don't get me wrong, but I mean, like, it usually takes, like, 20 guys and a couple of cars or something. He has to be hit by a couple of cars before he's actually in danger. This is wholly entertaining, and Keanu Reeves plays it incredibly well. And John Wick's just a dude that got mad that they killed his dog. That's like the whole...
That premise of the first one still just holds it together.
Right. It's like the baddest of the badasses. The only reason that he's back in the game is they killed his dog. And he's like, no, you're going to pay for the fact that you just killed my dog. Chapter 2, I would argue, is equal parts dumb and awesome, and I don't use dumb as derivative. Sometimes dumb can be really, really good. But it's equal parts of those things. It's mostly awesome. Bring on Chapter 3. At a rating of 80 out of 100, John Wick Chapter 2 is my number 23 best movie of 2017.
I actually disagree that it's dumb at all, even though I know you don't mean it as like a criticism. I think it's actually a fairly intelligent action movie, not in the sense of like it tackling some serious issue.
Some giant social
just like
issue,
the way, and it's true of the first one, just the way that the care they put into the action. It's like a real art form, like the way that he thrusts his gun forward. It's like he's jabbing you with it, right? It's more forceful. He's not just going, he could just go boom, 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 but he's like, nah.
Even just when he walks, he's like...
Yeah, he's like... my number 22 is going to be a quick one.
Okay.
Because we talked about it a lot, but The Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Okay.
At an 85. Like, I don't love The Killing of a Sacred Deer. Like, it's not a 90 for me.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was really good. I don't really have a lot to add because we talked about it to death. I'll just say I love the title of the movie. I'm just like reaching for things to say about it that we haven't said. And the thing I don't think we've really talked about. We've talked about the acting and stuff, but the method of acting, like, it's so deadpan.
Yes,
that it gives
it
this,
is.
like, otherworldly feeling to it. And The Lobster was the same way, and I don't know if like his other movies were like that. I don't know if that's just his stylistic choice or not. Mm-hmm. You get these more experimental movies, and I find that it's kind of more popular amongst those of like them using a purposely deadpan delivery, and it doesn't always work. That's kind of where he differs from Kubrick, because Kubrick didn't do that. Like, they acted in a Kubrick movie. But, yeah, that's... So, number 22 is The Killing of a Sacred Deer.
Nice. It's a really good movie. You should absolutely go see it. And the fact that it makes both of our lists is really good. And that's an indication of how good we think the movie is. But, yeah, it may take two viewings. But there's so much about that movie to enjoy. I have a question for you, Tyler.
I'm good.
What do John Wick and the first John Wick movie and Deadpool 2 have in common?
Jesus.
I know, it's a tough one. And no, Keanu Reeves isn't in Deadpool 2. Although Keanu Reeves should be in Deadpool 2.
Keanu Reeves in Deadpool 2. I don't know. What is it?
They're both being directed by the person that directed my number 22, Atomic Blonde. David Leitch, Strikes Again.
I always forget which one's directing like John Wick and Deadpool anymore, because there was like a two-man team for John Wick,
right? And
they kind of branched off.
Yeah, it's true.
Right.
Yes, David Leitch, and with Atomic Blonde, David Leitch absolutely is it Leitch or Leitch? I think it might be Leitch.
But I was pronouncing the guy who directed Sacred Deer wrong, because you pronounce it different. You're probably right. What do I know?
What we need to do is we need one of those Hollywood pronunciation guides.
Yeah.
It's probably what we should have gotten before we decided to come on video and talk about people that make movies. One of those movies, and I get a couple movies every year that I watch it, and it forces me to re-rank other movies that I've seen that year to kind of fall in line with it, because I was like, okay, I know, and not fall in line with it, like the Pennywise movie, but to fall in line with this movie that I just watched. Because, like, I watched this, and I was like, man, I really enjoyed this. And I see the movies that I had ranked ahead of it, and I was like, I enjoyed this more than that movie. I enjoyed this more than that. So it causes me to kind of adjust ratings sort of as we go. Like, Atomic Blonde, it's imperfect, for sure, obviously, because it's not like the number one movie of the year. This is perfect. It's imperfect, but it's so entertaining, and Charlize Theron is so good. And the soundtrack in this movie is excellent. I loved the music in it. Even where the songs are... There's a couple of instances where the songs are kind of shoehorned in. I loved how stylish it looked, even though, like, it's kind of... The style element of it is kind of imbalanced because there's some elements that are really stylish and then some elements that aren't really all that stylish at all. So it's kind of back and forth.
Sometimes
that way.
the music is overused and the style doesn't quite match.
Exactly. Performances, like I said, pretty on the money. I mean, we talked about James McAvoy. I thought McAvoy was excellent in the movie. I thought Charlize Theron was excellent in the movie. It's more of like kind of an espionage movie than an action movie, and I think the trailer and the marketing may have been slightly misleading in what kind of movie it was, because it is kind of more of like an espionage and like who's doing this and who's a double agent, who's a triple agent, and everything like that. But at a rating of 80 out of 100, I really enjoyed Atomic Blonde, and it's my number 22 best movie of 2017.
You really enjoyed that.
I did really enjoy it.
I got two things to say about it.
Sure.
One, the extended fight sequence near the end of the movie is like the obvious highlight. And it probably, as of July 31st, because that's when I ranked it, so like I could only speak of how I felt at the time.
Yeah.
As of July 31st, I said that it probably has the most inspired fight scenes of the year, because like John Wick is more of a shootout, if that makes sense. Like,
right.
She fights more in Atomic Blonde than John Wick does. Because John Wick's like shooty.
Right.
Like artistic gun violence art. Do your
Plus, John Goodman.
Oh yeah.
He's America's
He's so good.
Like, greatest person ever.
He's so good, but he hardly ever gets a chance to be like the leading man. That's
true.
Like in 10 Cloverfield Lane, he was pretty much, and like I love that performance.
Right, and then you're like, yes.
Okay, so my number 21 is a movie called The Villainous.
Okay.
And here's what I like about really any art form.
This
like,
I did not see.
About like books or movies or anything, video games. I feel like bookends are so important, like the beginning of a story and the end.
Yes.
I'm not saying anything profound here, just like if you rope them in with an epic beginning, like a Kingsman did, then it's like, oh shit, yeah. And that's what's great to me. When a movie starts and I'm already like 90, right? Like as soon as I see it, then that's a good sign. The Villainous did that because basically it's like a first-person view at the beginning.
Okay.
And I guess this is a spoiler to what happens, I suppose. So you see this guy walk on the screen, he's like walking sideways, and he turns toward the camera. He's like, who the fuck are you? And then the action just starts, and this person's just going through this building, smashing everyone, killing people, whatever. Then gets to a person who smashes the main character's head against a glass, and then when the camera goes back, you see that it's a woman through the reflection. Then the movie goes out of first-person view, and it becomes just this revenge tale. I told you more revenge stories would come up. It's very stylish. There's a little bit of melodrama, but I was actually into it, so it didn't make it seem too long. Because some people were saying it feels a little long because of melodrama, but I was into it. The only thing that is a little confusing is the jumping back and forth through how the story's told. And like I said earlier, I'm just a sucker for a revenge movie. So, and yeah, this was a foreign movie that people should see. Like check out The Villainous, which I probably liked more than quite a few people, but. Yeah, an 85 I gave it.
85, nice. My number 21 best movie of 2017 is a movie that I'm going to talk about so lovingly, it's probably a shock that it's this low on this list. And it was one of the big surprises of the year for me. It's The Big Sick. And Amazon Productions flick, I believe.
Amazon did some good
some good stuff this year.
On.
And into the future, I think they're only going to wind up getting better, due in no small part to great movies like this. The Big Sick, of course, is the story of Kumail Nanjiani, I believe is how you pronounce his name. He's like a stand-up comedian, and it's kind of the story about, like, basically the real life story about how he met his wife and how their relationship came to be, and her health issues that I believe she still struggles with today. But I can only imagine what a head trip it is, because like Kumail Nanjiani plays himself in the movie, so I can only imagine like what a head trip it is to be standing on the set of a movie that's literally about your life and how you met your wife and everything, and you're playing yourself, but you're playing yourself
And you're not
opposite.
even like an actor, really. Like,
No, exactly.
It's like,
yeah.
Yeah, your first. I think it's like his first leading.
Oh yeah. Oh, and like he's not really an actor. Like he's just, and he even is the first one to admit he's like, I'm not an actor, but like I wanted to make this story, and they wanted me to make this story because it's so interesting. And Zoe Kazan is the name of the actress who plays his wife, and she's really, really good. Holly Hunter and Ray Romano that play her parents.
They were really good.
And they were so, like, Ray Romano is, like, it's... People say everybody loves him because of the TV show, but there's a lot of the times when I find Ray Romano really annoying. To be portraying the story of your own life, written by you and your wife. They're basically just rewriting sort of your own story about how you came to be together. Just like what a weird head trip that is. Again, everybody in this movie is wonderful performance-wise. They're all like smartly written, and they're all multi-layered, and there's no like kind of one-note characteristics. Like there's the really interesting dynamic between her two parents, that they're kind of like passive-aggressive towards each other for reasons that you find out later exactly why. I actually ran the emotional gamut in this movie. I was so invested in this thing. After about 5 minutes, I was like, you have me. I look at like dramedy, which is what this is, like a basically a 50-50 split between comedy and drama. But great dramedy has balance, and great dramedy has subtlety. I go back to like 50-50, which I think is one of the best dramedies ever made.
That was really good.
Because you have the drama that supplements the comedy, and the comedy that alleviates the levity of the drama, and they work together. And I was like, that's the best dramedy ever made to me. And great dramedy has subtlety and has the balance between the two, and I think The Big Sick has it in spades. So at a rating of 80 out of 100, The Big Sick is my number 21 best movie of 2017.
You ever have these movies where you can kind of respect everything about it?
Mm-hmm.
Even though I don't lend the same credence to their performances as you do, and a lot of people do. It didn't amaze me as much, but I guess I was kind of looking at it wrong, because like it is kind of he's not an actor. Maybe I should have been more impressed, but it's not on my list. So I like it, but I'm just not on that hype train that like so many people are on. But I'm glad this movie exists. So I'm gonna go to number 20, a movie that hits the same kind of notes as yours. My number 20 is Thor Ragnarok.
Nice.
Okay, so...
You remember when you were Thor?
So here's the thing. I said earlier how I don't give Marvel movies like lower than an 80, but there was a time that I did. And Thor has been a victim of two of those below 80s,
it's
along
true.
with the first Captain America, and I think Iron Man 2. But man, Thor Ragnarok brought it around.
Oh, big time.
But it's not without flaws, so let's get to that.
Okay.
It's like a movie like Guardians, which it clearly takes influence from.
Oh my god.
But at the same time, the director's known for this kind of humor, so it's not like he's aping Guardians, because this is what he's been doing his whole career.
But like, you watch that trailer, and it looks like a trailer for a Guardians movie.
Yeah, exactly. But, so it's more of a comedy than almost any other Marvel movie. Like, I would argue that Guardians is more of a comedy, and Thor Ragnarok is more of a comedy, and there's not really any other ones that are more focused on comedy. But yeah, it's more of a comedy, and sometimes, as funny as the movie is, sometimes the comedy gets in the way. And to me, and maybe this is just a personal thing, the biggest offender of that is the Hulk.
Yeah.
Because the Hulk should not really be that funny. The best part of the Hulk is with that serious part where like he sees Scarlett Johansson or Black Widow, and kind of goes, "Oh!" and he's in the spaceship or whatever, and he's going crazy. Like, that's the best part of the Hulk. I wouldn't mind a few jokes, like the joke where like Ragnarok's happening or whatever, and they want it to happen. I guess I'm spoiling it, and then you see the Hulk go, "Roar!" Like, that's a good joke. That I like. I don't like seeing the Hulk bouncing a ball against the wall all the time and shit. So they kind of overdo the comedy a little. That cuts nuts off the movie a little bit. And it has Korg, who was in an earlier video was the leader for Character of the Year until Howard came along. But A little rock, paper, scissors joke for you there. Like, it's so... like, okay, because this is a great thing about Korg especially, and probably even some of the movie as a whole, but Korg especially. This is the kind of humor where if you kind of read the script, you might think that's not funny.
Right.
At all. But absolutely. The way it's delivered is so good.
It's true.
So this is like a nice return for Thor. The only thing I kind of question is like it's kind of weird in like the grand scheme of movies because it went so comedy heavy, but then I guess so did Guardians. But I don't know. I really like Thor Ragnarok, and I'm not a Thor guy like as a character or really, right. Or as a fan of movies because I find Thor to be a little bit boring because like he's a real god. Anyway, like he wasn't made for comics, right. So I find it a little redundant because comic book heroes are gods. So yes, my number 20 is Thor Ragnarok.
Taika Waititi rules. My number 20 best movie of 2017 is a movie that I think if you would have told me at the beginning of the year, man, this movie's barely going to be inside your top 20, I would have been like, you're out of your mind. Like this is
you're out of your mind.
This is going to be awesome, especially given the director that's attached to it. We're talking about Blade Runner 2049, and it was a movie that I wanted to love, and I really, like, as soon as I saw the director that was attached to it, I was like, I am in, because I'm one of the biggest Denis Villeneuve fanboys. Like, I think he's a genius, and he might be one of the best working directors today. Maybe he'd be a great actor. Who knows?
Who knows? He probably would be.
He should put himself in one of his own movies. Yeah, and it's a movie, too, that I was so kind of bummed out the first time I watched it. I'm so glad I invested a second watch, because and that's an investment because that's a long movie.
Yeah, 3 hours.
Right, exactly, and it's sort of the same thing with another movie that we'll talk about later. That I invested a second watch, and like I still didn't love it the second time around, but I mean I liked it more, and I'm glad that I did that second viewing so that I actually would end up liking it more. Actually, really, I respect a lot more after the second viewing exactly what the film is and how technically masterful it is and how beautiful it is. And it's such an accomplishment what Denis accomplished with that movie, with paying homage to the source material while making a movie that is its own thing.
Yeah.
And that's a real accomplishment because so many sequels, especially sequels that happen, decades later, like, I'm going to go in a different direction with this, and da-da-da. No, he really pays homage to the source material. But it is its own thing, but it's so respectful to the original material. And I kind of talked about Jared Leto before as Exposition Fairy. I'm not a Jared Leto hater. I don't hate him like a lot of the internet hates him because he was Joker and they didn't like the way he was Joker. And I can totally understand the people that didn't like the way he was Joker. His role as Exposition Fairy, like I mentioned, like when he's talking, it does kind of take me out of it a little bit because it's too long, it's too much. I don't mind exposition, but that it was taxing. We'll put it that way. But at a rating of 80 out of 100, I still obviously really enjoyed the movie. I definitely recommend if you didn't enjoy the movie after watching it once, invest a second viewing in it. At a rating of 80 out of 100, Blade Runner 2049, my number 20 best movie of 2017.
The one thing that I think is unanimous about the movie is that Villeneuve was on point.
Yeah.
Like, that's... Love or hate the movie, which I think you should go see regardless of the fact, like, even though he said, like, he liked it, obviously, and he didn't love it. I think that everyone should go see it because it needs to make its money back. I mean, I know it's probably not in theaters anywhere, but like DVD or whatever. Interesting pick. I wasn't sure if that would make it on yours or not.
And I'm glad that ultimately, because I knew it was pretty well destined to make it anyway, even if I had to kind of force it on there.
Yeah.
But I'm glad it made it there on its own merit, even if it did take the second watch. Continuing on, Tyler's number 19 coming up.
My number 19 with a rating of 90. This starts the 90s.
Oh,
this starts the top of the class.
Do you see how high this kid rates movies?
Yeah, I have so many 90s this year. Like, more than any year, by far.
Good.
But my number 19 is The Work, the last documentary. Yep, on my list.
Yeah, to check.
So what the documentary? What The Work is? It's set inside a single room in Folsom Prison, where they have like this therapy thing going on, but they I think it's once a year or something. They invite like some outsiders to come in and take part and take part in it, and watch what's going on while these inmates go through therapy and whatever.
I wonder if that was the inspiration for the Johnny Cash. Not to interrupt you, but
you did anyway.
But I did. Remember, because he did that whole album. That was all kind of like a concept album on Folsom Prison.
The thing I can say about the movie is that it's just emotionally draining, as it should be. It's therapy. It's kind of predictable. It's gonna go where you expect it to go because it's therapy. Mm-hmm. Right? They're not generally gonna show this didn't work, because it does. They showed a statistic, which I can't remember, at the end of the year of how much this actually works, and that's cool. So just watching these inmates, who a lot of them have been there for a long time, associate with these other people, deal with each other and stuff. It's just fascinating stuff. Now, with that said, some of the people, not the inmates, the civilians, some of them were so annoying at first. I'm watching it, and I'm like, you're in here to participate in this, and you're judging these inmates, and the issue, it's just, some of them are so annoying. People talking, people going through things, it's really intense at times. Sometimes you think there's going to be some violence. Sometimes there is some violence, a little bit, but it's not really a violent movie. But yeah, so seek out The Work. So that's my number 19, The Work.
Okay. I would be invested and interested in watching all of those documentaries because you did a great job of making them sound incredibly interesting.
I'm smart.
You're a smart man. So we're going to move on to my number 19, but I think in due deference to this movie, I can't just say what the movie is. I need to actually act out something from the movie.
Oh, God. I wasn't signing up for this.
Yeah, I know. And again, we don't pre-plan this, so he doesn't know what's coming. But very quickly, he will know what's coming. So, excuse me a moment. I did not hit her. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Tyler.
Wonder Woman.
So, Wonder Woman. So, my number 19, obviously, is The Disaster Artist. And I was kind of hoping that maybe it would wind up being even higher on the list, but the 80s that I have in front of it are just objectively better movies.
He was so amped for this.
I was really I harassed our theater. Why are you not getting Disaster Artist? Why are you not getting it? And they're like, one theater in the whole province got it. And again, this is just the trials and tribulations of, living in a place that has a small theater. And they don't get a ton of say in the stuff that they get, which is unfortunate. And I think we kind of hold it against them sometimes, nature, because we just get upset. Because it's there's so many good things we
want to pump money into your theater.
We just want to love you.
Can't.
But The Disaster Artist, obviously, the story of Tommy Wiseau and Greg Sestero and the making of The Room. I'm watching this movie and I'm like, is it possible that Greg Sestero is every bit as interesting a character as Tommy is? Because Tommy obviously is insane. But Greg, you got to think about this. Greg is this young aspiring actor that for some reason decides in his brain that it's a good idea to hitch his wagon to this guy.
Yeah. Okay.
On that level, it's just what could possibly have been going through your head that you were just not only am I gonna say I want to do a scene with this guy, no, I want to move in with this guy.
Yeah.
And live together and try to make it in Hollywood. It's fascinating to me that he could have legitimately been this is a good move for my career. So on that level, Greg could be just as interesting a character for that reason as Tommy Wiseau is for every other reason. This is a movie where the comedy elements for me hit 100% of the time because I really enjoy The Room, and I really enjoy the way everyone makes fun of The Room, but at the same time how it's this cult classic that is still making so much money today, and in general has just made so much money on, like, hey, once a week we're just all going to get together and fill this theater and watch The Room and throw plastic spoons. Some people, I think you might have even made the argument about the movie where it was like, it feels like very scratching the surface kind of thing without really doing a deep dive like the book does. There's a lot of elements that the book brings out that they really didn't represent in the movie. And I can buy that. It's not, it didn't strike me on that level as strongly as I think it struck some other people. One criticism I kind of have just about the narrative is they so rushed through the creation of that script. I do think it kind of paints an unflattering picture of the Hollywood machine, kind of in the way that Tommy is treated for being obviously very, very different. And the way Greg is like, Greg kind of has doors open for him because he's attractive looking, and because Greg Sestero is a handsome guy. And I think maybe there's a bit more depth in terms of Tommy Wiseau and some of the cast and some of the crew, although the script doctor, the guy that Seth Rogen plays, has now also written a book.
Oh, has he?
Yeah, and I think it's only on Amazon. And it's basically, a lot of it's about, like, I wasn't properly represented, and I basically directed that whole movie. And there's certainly some hyperbole in the ending about, like, oh, standing ovation, and Tommy's like, hey, and so, like, there's hyperbole in the ending in a big bad way. But this was a movie that did not let me down. I would have liked to have maybe enjoyed it maybe a little bit more than I did, so maybe it could have added some stuff to it that was in the book, but at a rating of 80 out of 100, The Disaster Artist, my number 19 best movie of 2017.
Yeah, and we've talked about this, when I saw, well, first of all, when I heard about it, I wasn't sure if it was going to be good. When I saw trailers, I remember us having this conversation of being like, is this going to be, like, legitimately awesome or just bad?
Right.
Like, I was really hoping for it to be good, and then reception started coming out of it being really good. And so when I finally got to watch it, I was like, this is fine. It's an 80, but it didn't make my list.
Right.
I gave Franco a nod for best performance because he was really great as Tommy Wiseau. But at the same time, it's hard to take the drama seriously in that when you see a guy acting like another guy. All right, my number 18 is a movie called Split.
Ooh.
Now, this is a 90, like many other 90s, but this is a 90 that wouldn't have been a 90 if it wasn't for the plot twist at the end. This would have been a solid 80. I don't know that it would have made even my honorables without the plot twist. A criticism of Split is that there's this thing about M. Night where, like, there are times you laugh at his movies, right? And you don't know if it's because he's legitimately trying to be funny or if it's his like shit writing tendencies coming through. And I think with Split, they're probably meant to be funny, but it still kind of makes me wonder if it's just like his shittiness as a writer coming out. But as his movies often are, it is like well directed, because I still think he's a good director.
Yeah. I
always say he's Hitchcockian in the way he directs. He's not as good, obviously, as Hitchcock, but he displays the same kind of aspects of his filmmaking. So I never really fault the direction. It's always the writing. But with Split, I think he conquered those, and I'm hoping with future movies he can keep this going, because Split was really good. It was a good way to start the year for my first movie of the year.
Well, yeah,
and it's hung on in a bunch of ways through. And of course, even though we've talked about it, James McAvoy was awesome.
Absolutely. My number 18 best movie of 2017. I've mentioned it before. It was a movie that I went into expecting to hate it. It was Get Out. And again, like I said, I didn't trust Jordan Peele any further than I could throw him. And it's so much more than that. It's funny, but at the same time, not only is it funny, but it's tense. And even though you have, like I kind of mentioned, kind of kabuki-ish villains, which in this kind of like Invasion of the Body Snatchers kind of thing, like your villains are always going to be a little on the cartoony side, and that's true in this movie. But that doesn't make the movie bad. And again, I feel like I'm the only person that thought this was going to be truly awful. It wasn't. Like, Jordan Peele legit proved me wrong, proved us both wrong, I would say. And this is one that we kind of have to eat. At a rating of 80 out of 100, Get Out is my number 18 best movie of 2017.
Yeah, I think Get Out is one of the most overrated movies of the year, but with that said, it's still quite a good movie. Mm-hmm. I just am not seeing this, like, best movie of the year. But it, like I said, it's smarter than we thought it was going to be. It's better in every single way than we thought it was going to be. And Jordan Peele went from ugh to I'll check out his next movie.
Yeah.
I'll check it out. My number 17, I'll try to keep this short because I pretty much guarantee you haven't seen this.
Right. Let's point out that the 17th pick of 2017 is what you could call the champagne pick. Remember how people have, like, your 19th birthday's on the 19th of a month, it's your champagne birthday? This would be the champagne pick.
Maybe called Paradox.
I'm a loser. Okay.
Yes,
Paradox.
You are.
Paradox, okay.
So it's this Chinese movie directed by the guy who made, like, IP Man and stuff, but I've never actually seen. I've been meaning to watch some of this guy's movies, but I never did. A police negotiator, his daughter disappears, and he goes on a trail to find her. Right?
Is this Chinese Taken?
Sorta.
I
mean, you could boil it down to that,
right.
But it's really just like it's a tale of just.
That's kind of derisive.
Yeah, it's just kind of like it's. Do I like Taken more? I don't know if I even like Taken more than this. Okay. But when I think about it, I love Taken. Don't get me wrong, I love Taken. Mm-hmm. But this, because of who directed it, the choreography and the fight scenes are so great because they spend most of their time fighting by hand.
Okay.
Why? Because it's a martial arts, and the fight scenes are really good. Okay. And admittedly, these kind of movies, because this is kind of a revenge type of movie. It's not, sort of, right? And it didn't cop out with, I don't want to ruin anything, because I'd like people to go see it, but it doesn't cop out near the end. And I was like, oh shit. And I just think, I expected to like this movie, but I expected it to be like an 80. Right. And it was higher than that for me. And, I don't know, just a fun martial arts movie.
This video has run the gamut. We've had champagne picks, we've had acting, we've had everything in this video. So for my number 17 pick, my number 17 best movie of 2017, my champagne pick, I'm doing this. I'm knuckling up.
Yay!
Come at me, haters.
Yay!
Justice League.
Yay!
So, why am I knuckling up? Because I'm going to spend this whole portion talking about why people are wrong about this movie.
You have to do it.
You have to do it because you're wrong about Justice League.
I mean, and I'd be with you, but I'd be with you more like if this was the year that Batman vs. Superman came out, right. I'd be knuckling up.
Yeah, exactly. Because this is Batman vs. Superman mark right here. Kind of like I'm kind of a mark for Suicide Squad. I didn't think Suicide Squad was really,
I mean, I didn't think it was terrible.
No, I didn't think it was nearly as bad as people said. Everybody said the CGI was weak. I say that's bullshit. Think about where CGI was like even 5 years ago. There was not weak CGI in this movie.
Do people hang on to the mustache thing that bad?
Yeah.
Where it's like, my God,
absolutely.
It's like a couple moments of a movie.
Right.
Just fucking chill out.
No, they absolutely.
I hate this culture of taking a little bad thing, a nitpick, and blowing it up.
Exactly.
I hate that.
No, that's true. And they're like, oh, there was a lack of character development with the new characters. But it's a cinematic universe. They're not going to be fully fleshed out character arcs inside of one movie. None of them died. It's not like this is going to be their only appearance. Like, oh, you didn't think Cyborg had enough character development, or you didn't think The Flash had enough character development. There's going to be more movies.
They had enough.
Exactly, and they had enough. They had more than enough in an intro movie that was not an origin story strictly for any of these individual characters. Also, they talked about the villain was so generic. Steppenwolf was fine in this movie, and we've talked about it. weak villains is a genre problem across the board. It's happened in a ton of Marvel movies. Like, you can say that one of the best Marvel villains of the last 5 years was Michael Keaton in Spider-Man, and it's like, when you're saying that, like, I would argue he was better portrayed in that one movie than Ultron was in the second Avengers movie. I really didn't like Ultron.
See, I liked Ultron until they wimped him out right at the end.
Right. But, like, Steppenwolf, I thought was a fine villain. But again, weak, generic villains is a genre problem across the board. But it seems like people only criticize the DC movies for that.
Yeah, Steppenwolf,
like I don't...
He deserves better, like so many villains do.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm watching it, I'm like, okay, he's wrecking shit. I
can't understand how people can't figure out how to have a good time with Justice League. Like, I don't know, I just don't get it. I don't get what the mental block is that people just can't figure out how to have a good time with the DC movies in general.
I would feel so much more...
Aside from Wonder Woman.
I would feel so much more different about people's opinions if they weren't so extreme. Like, if people were just coming out being like, Justice League, not a great movie, but I kind of enjoyed it. Alright. Because, no, I don't expect anyone to like it as much as you clearly do. Mm-hmm. Like, it's whatever. You can have problems with it, but it's just like, nobody's coming up being like, kind of enjoyed it. They're all coming to like, what a piece of shit.
Yeah. I had exactly zero problem while watching this movie following the story. People said the story, you couldn't follow the story. I'm like, bullshit.
They said that about Batman vs Superman. It's incoherent.
It's incoherent.
I'm like,
like,
no, it's not.
I had no problem at all following the story. I had no problem at all being invested in the characters. I had no problem at all appreciating Steppenwolf as a villain. And I have no problem being excited for where the DCCU, or where I hope the DC, whatever, I call it the DCCU, wherever it happens to be going, I'm excited for where it's going to be going. I'm a little nervous, but I'm excited. But I shouldn't be nervous. That's the problem. I'm nervous because of other people and the crap that they say. At a rating of 80 out of 100, Justice League is my champagne pick. My number 17 best movie of 2017.
It's funny that our champagne picks were so different. Mine's one that probably not many people saw from China. Yours is a movie that
everybody saw.
A lot of people saw. Maybe not as many that they were expecting, but people hated. Because I watched Batman vs Superman, the extended version. That fucking movie is so good. I watched it theatrical. I understand that there were some plot holes, but he fixed them with the extended cut. Just saying, whatever. You can cut that part if you want in the video. It doesn't matter.
No, I'll leave that in.
All right, my number 16 is a movie just like Justice League. It's called A Ghost Story. So here's the thing about A Ghost Story. I turned it on because people were really saying this is something special at the time. I don't know. I don't see it really in many lists now at the end of the year.
No.
I like the idea of this guy, like, he's a ghost, but he's just got a sheet over him.
Yeah.
Because, like, there's that childlike, and the director or writer, whoever said this, there's that, like, childlike thing of, like, ooh, I'm a ghost in my sheet, right? So that was endearing to me. I'm like, okay, this could be interesting. And I was 20 minutes into the movie. I was like, this is going to be fucking shit. Like, this is going to be one of those indie movies that's just a slog. Mm-hmm. Well shot. I appreciated that aspect of it. But then, like, I realized the movie was very subtly fucking me up. Like, emotionally, mentally. It was drilling its way into my head to the point where I was like, okay, in my review, I'm like, it wasn't fucking me up in some disturbed fashion, but with like some existential sadness and intense longing. I began to feel for this ghost that roams a very specific spot, watching life unfold, the loneliness it would feel, the confusion. And then on top of that, the way it's shot with the aspect ratio is different.
Yeah.
It's like, it makes it feel boxed in and more intimate, like older. I don't know how else more to, like, I don't know really what else to say about it. It was fucking me up emotionally. Like, I started to think about shit, like, related to what I was seeing.
Yeah.
And I realized that this was kind of, like, not an emotional movie in the sense of, like, I was crying, just, like, it made me think. And not really many movies on my list or any year give me that moment of, like, I was thinking about something more life related afterwards, or about the movie, how it relates to certain things. Like, a lot of movies affect me, but maybe not on the same scale as this did. So my number 16 is A Ghost Story, which I rated a 90, and I think I said this to you before about it. I'm like, you gotta go along with the movie, because it's not gonna break. Like I mentioned the beginning of movies being important, and it is, but this movie failed in that regard, because I was watching, I was like, all right, oh my god, it's gonna be a long hour and a half or whatever it was.
A Ghost Story was kind of one of those movies that I wished I would have gotten to, because it was only like 85 minutes long. Like it was not much of an investment movie as far as movies go.
Eating his donuts.
Donuts done.
It wasn't 12 like 7 years.
Exactly.
Okay, Justin, you look like you've got something to say. Do you?
Yes, I certainly do. My number 16 best movie of 2017 might as well stay in the DCCU. It's Wonder Woman. And I don't have to knuckle up about Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman is like universally appreciated as the best DC movie so far, and I think I probably have to agree with that. There's still like a gender politics argument taking place about it. Is like, is this movie good feminism, and is this whatever? And it's like, can we put that aside? Can we have a movie directed by a woman that's about the most iconic female, or arguably the most iconic, would be the most iconic probably, female superhero, and just not have the feminism conversation? Like, can we just talk about whether or not it was a good movie? Actually, I watched the movie twice, and on the second viewing, I did kind of see a few of the cracks that some people were talking about in the narrative, but it didn't really bother me. Like, I was like, okay, I see where you're coming from with that. It doesn't make me think any less of the movie at all. I enjoyed it just as much on my second viewing as I did on the first one. Like, I got everything that I wanted to get out of this movie. The movie fulfilled. All of my expectations were met. I wanted Gal Gadot to be beautiful. I wanted her to kick ass. She was both of those things. I wanted this to feel like a more accessible DC movie, because I think that's what the DCCU needs to gain some fans. To gain some more fans, and I feel like it was a more accessible DCCU movie. And does that mean that it was closer to a Marvel movie? Not necessarily, but I just think it in order to gain more, maybe it needs to just be maybe a little bit different than the original ones were. And that's a problem, because that's me contributing to that narrative that the DC movies aren't good enough, and that's not what I'm intending to do. But like, I want the DC movies to succeed. I wanted it to be probably my favorite DCCU movie, and I would say that it probably is to this point. So I got exactly what I wanted, and I loved how it got there. At a rating of 80 out of 100, Wonder Woman's my number 16 best movie of 2017.
Gal Gadot was so perfect for that role.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my number 15 is, I mean, you call an audible here.
Okay. Audible's being called in the
calling it, so I'm just switching 15 and 14.
Totally.
Alright, so my number 15, I'm knuckling up for Justice League.
Oh, damn it, here we go. Let's do it.
I don't know what to add to it. I just, because you already knuckled up, I'm just knuckling up with you. I'm just I'm joining the fight. When the high wore off, I realized there is issues with it. It's not a perfect movie. I never feel like it ever hits that, like, one epic fight scene that, like, Batman versus Superman had. But it treated all his characters well. It made me care about Aquaman, and I like the Flash, so it didn't take too much to make me care about him. And Batman, of course, was great. The jokes mostly worked.
Making Aquaman not a bitch is an achievement in and of itself.
That was like a very uphill battle for
yes,
nobody was like, yay, Aquaman. In the same way, like Ant-Man for Marvel. I just think Justice League, well, closer to a Marvel movie. It's not really the direction I wanted. I would have liked to see Zack Snyder's cut, but I know he doesn't have a finished one. But if he did, I would have liked to see his, because it is kind of the feeling of like, well, Whedon came in and reshot some stuff, and it kind of messes with the tone and whatnot.
Yeah.
So I think that maybe like if it would have been one director either way, it probably would have been a better movie.
Yeah.
I think Zack Snyder would have made it feel bigger. So maybe it should have been a little better than it was, but I still really, really liked it. So I'll take it. So my number 15, sorry, because I did the audible.
Yeah.
Is Justice League.
Very nice. My number 15 best movie is a movie I'm going to spend pretty well zero time on whatsoever because we've already talked about it and sung its praises multiple times. It's Split. And again, I'll just make the point that like the M. Night Shyamalan filmography is so frustratingly inconsistent.
Yep.
Where it goes from genius to garbage and then comes back to Split, which I would say is much closer to the great M. Night than the bad M. Night. Again, James McAvoy, an absolute experience in the way that he plays Kevin Wendell Crumb. It's a really intriguing. It was an intriguing premise to begin with, so it probably would have been propelled to. This is at least enjoyable because the premise is interesting, but it gets really thrilling and really well done towards the latter part of the movie. I can't wait for Glass. Yeah. But yeah, at a rating of 80 out of 100, Split's my number 15, best movie of 2017.
Okay, so my number 14...
This completes your audible.
Yes, this is the one that benefited from my audible.
There you go.
Is number 14 is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Nice.
This hurts me a little. It does. Yeah. It does. It hurts me a little.
Because you wanted it to be top 10.
Because Guardians is my favorite Marvel movie. Yeah. Like Marvel MCU movie. Guardians 1 was so good. And Guardians 2, when I first came out of it, I'm like, that might be better than the original. But it's not.
No.
And it's weird because in a lot of ways it is better. Mm-hmm. Like, Ego is a better villain. Guardians 2 has more heart. It's more emotional. But here's the problem. When I view Guardians, as I said earlier, mm-hmm. I view it as comedy first.
Yes.
And they try so hard in Guardians 2 to make you laugh that sometimes just like it's just not working.
Yep.
You leaned on Drax too much. He wasn't that funny. Yeah. You know, they leaned too hard on Baby Groot. And I understand why, because that motherfucker sells
and
product.
You gotta get that merch money.
I get it.
You gotta get that merch money.
He's cute as shit, but as soon as I saw him at the end of Guardians 1, I was like, they're gonna lean on him. Not as many jokes hit. There was still some fantastic gags in there. If I was viewing Guardians less as a comedy, I might still think this is a better movie, but to me, it's more of a comedy. And when the jokes just aren't working as much as the first one that was hitting them one after another, mm-hmm. I just feel like as much as I like Volume 2, it's just not as good as the first, and there are just a whole bunch of movies, 13 to be exact, that I like more. And that's sad because I'm a big Guardians mark. I cannot wait until like Infinity War with them, but I don't want to harp too much on go on too much about that now. But like
that might be the best moment in that trailer.
Yeah,
Thor's like, "Who the hell are you guys?"
They're just standing there.
That might be the best.
What a group of misfits you got.
It's true. On. They're like, "Oh God, we gotta trust these guys now."
But so my number 14, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Oh, I also think that the soundtrack wasn't as good.
I agree with that. My number 14, best movie of 2017. Folks, if you are still with us, you are troopers. We appreciate you.
It.
We love you. In fact, we love you so much, we want to know your name.
Oh shit, your name?
Number 14... My 14th best movie of 2017 is Your Name.
Alfred.
Your Name, Tyler alluded to it in either an earlier video, I believe it was.
Yes, I did.
It's a Japanese anime. I can't blame you if you didn't see this, but if you didn't see it, you need to see it.
1 sec.
And when I talked about like coming of age movies and like, if I wouldn't have seen a better coming of age movie this year, this is the movie that I was talking about. It's the story of this girl and this boy. The boy lives in Tokyo. The girl lives in, I can't remember the name of the village, outside of Tokyo. And it's basically like the whole Friday the 13th thing where they go to sleep and they wake up and they're in each other's bodies. And that's about all that I want to give away for the plot.
But the great point, like, I'm not going to give away anymore, but like, it doesn't stop there. It's like, you think, okay, a body switching movie, whatever, but it goes deeper.
It does. It really... It goes a lot deeper than that. And look, any movie that, like, within the first 5 minutes, they're talking about occultism and the multiverse theory.
So let me just say something right quick.
Like, this movie's got to be at least a little okay.
I'm calling an audible to make this kind of simpler.
Okay.
Because 2 picks from now, I was gonna have your name.
Okay.
So I'm just switching it. So we're lining up. So my number, 13
would be your number 13.
Is your name. So let's get this chat.
Great.
Over with.
Let's do this. So, like, this movie, early on, I felt like this... I was worried early on watching this movie, because I'm like, this feels so generic. I'm not a gigantic anime fan. Like, I'm certainly not well-versed in anime. Dragon Ball Z is the anime that I can tell you the most about. This feels generic even to me. And that's a problem. Because if it feels generic to me, it's going to be like almost unwatchable to anybody that's really deep cuts into anime. But it breaks from that pretty quickly. And what unfolds beyond that is like this really like beautiful like romance, story of friendship and building romance. And then holy fuck, does that ever get dark? But when it gets dark, it's like, what? and it's not an unenjoyable what. It's an oh my god, like holy crap.
All of a sudden we're watching the saddest movie
of
the year.
Absolutely. All of a sudden I'm just like, oh my god, I'm gonna cry. Like it was a slow burn and it was a slow build to at one point I'm just like, I am so captivated by this. Like I'm so caught up. Just the experience of watching this movie was so beautiful. It was so emotional. It was such a great story. At a rating of 80 out of 100, Your Name is my number 14 best movie of 2017, and you need to watch it.
Yeah, exactly. You were completely right. I also was quite worried at the beginning until like the body swapping started, and I was like, okay, well we're getting to something now. And then it just hits a point where it gets going, like really gets. I mean, it got going once the body swap happened, but then it really gets going. And then, like you, I was just captivated. I'm just sitting there like, holy shit. I got to actually see this one in theater. I saw like the last showing of it, which was great timing. I got to go to the movies, and I went with my two of my brothers.
I was gonna say, this was in Park Lane, wasn't it? Yeah.
And like, my one brother, I expect he'll probably like this. But then my older brother, I was like, he doesn't like animated movies. I'm like, I'm gonna put him through this, but I really want to see this movie. And even he was like, it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit. It hits its emotional beats so well, and yet it's still such a weird movie at the same time, but doesn't lose track of itself. And like, you think it's going to end somewhat a certain way, and then it keeps going, but you're not like, oh, this is dragging. You're like, oh shit, it's still going?
Exactly.
Let's do this. Like, I thought this was going to end like 4 times, but then it didn't, and it kept going. I was so pleased. So yeah, that was my number 13, so...
I'm sure you can find an English dub. Don't watch the English dub.
Don't do an English dub.
Watch the regular dub with English subtitles. I realize a lot of people don't like subtitles, but it just loses it. It just loses something. So now my number 13 best movie of 2017 is one that I think is going to be significantly higher on your list, and certainly I'm not surprised at all that you haven't talked about it yet. It's Logan. And I kind of thought that Logan would be maybe even a little higher on mine too, but there's a couple of 80s that I just liked just the tiniest little bit better. Logan is one of those, again, superhero... Are you crying? Superhero movie that at the same time is so wildly different than basically any other superhero movie that we've ever seen. And it hits you in all the right emotional places because it's these characters, it's for a few reasons. It's these characters that we followed for so long, and we're now seeing them in failing health. And then on top of that, they put like the plight of these young mutants who never asked for what they're being put through. You have the anger and like the vitriol behind the violence in the movie. It's like the most violent superhero movie that I've ever seen, and there's anger behind everything. And to me, this accomplishes what any great final appearance is supposed to accomplish, because Hugh Jackman is sworn up and down. Obviously, this is the last time we're going to see him as Wolverine. If this is going to be the final appearance, then it hits me as exactly what a final appearance needs to be, which is I never need to see that character again. Because from what happens in that movie from start to finish, I have zero feelings of unfinished business about Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. It really accomplishes that for me. It's so incredibly well done. And of course, I mean, Daphne Keane. Like, our incredible introduction to X-23. Just tremendous. Like, just so good. At a rating of 80 out of 100, Logan is my number 13 best movie of 2017.
Word. Okay, so my number 12 is a movie called The Florida Project.
And this is one of those ones that I so wish I would have seen. Unfortunately, I missed it.
You suck. I gave a nod to Sean Baker in my best directors.
Yeah.
Because I think he did a really good job, so I'll just kind of repeat what I said about him. He's like a voyeur, he just kind of lets it unfold. Excellent use of colors. I hate to say this but this is what I thought when I was watching the movie, and then I Googled this thought, and it turns out I'm not alone in thinking this. I thought, I'm kind of watching a Harmony Korine movie right now. Not as good, because people don't know this, but he's my favorite director. I'm a fanboy for Korine, but I'm like, this reminds me a lot of Korine. But it is, because all this movie is, it's taking place like by Disneyland, and it's about this story, and this is like a thing that is real, but it's not like a non-fiction story of like these people who live in these dumpy like hotels and shit, right? Mm-hmm. Like, outside of Disney, the world of magic are these shitholes with these families that can't afford anything. And, like, so this movie is just basically watching a bunch of kids go around doing kid things. Right. And they're kind of pricks. but I'm going to be honest, I laughed a bunch of times at some of the shit they were doing. But the little girl, I can't remember her name, the main little girl, was really fucking good. It's just kind of enjoyable watching these people go about their lives, and it does get a little darker. And I saw one criticism being like, it's a fine movie, but you're still essentially watching unlikable people, because like the mom of the little girl is quite unlikable. But I was like, I don't need my characters to be likable, I just need them to be interesting. And I found the characters interesting, and the ending of the movie was really good. One that I knew I would watch if given the opportunity, but one that I wasn't real excited for. I was just like, the Florida Project, I'll watch that. I don't know how I'm going to feel about it. And I was watching it, and I was like compelled by it. And it's really one of those movies where nothing that exciting's happening. I was invested in the old Florida Project, and William Dafoe was good as like the manager of the hotel. Yeah. He was good. Florida Project is my number 12?
Yeah, I think that was your 12. I mean, like, hey, I look at, like, one of my favorite, Richard Linklater is one of my favorite directors, and he does movies all the time where not much happens. Like, I look at, like, one of my favorite movies from last year, Everybody Wants Some. But almost nothing happens in that movie. Like, they're just baseball players. Like, that's it. That's the movie. They're baseball players in college. And they're all trying to get laid. And that's it. That's all that happens in the movie. And yet I'm like, this is, like, one of my favorite movies of the year. And again, to your point, some of the best characters that we've ever seen have been irredeemable pricks.
Yeah.
Right? Even from this year. Which leads me into my number 12 best movie of 2017, Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. And I shouldn't go on to say that Frances McDormand's character is an irredeemable prick. But she's certainly not wholly sympathetic.
She's kind of a prick.
She's kind of a prick. Once again,
kind of a justified prick, but not totally justified.
Kind of in the moral right, but then does things with Molotov cocktails that are in the moral wrong.
It is an interesting pick. I wasn't sure where this would land on yours.
So, Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, I'm watching the movie and I'm like, this wastes no time at all getting going. Like, right away, there's 3 billboards. They're outside Ebbing, Missouri. And they say some shit.
You gotta respect that.
It's true.
Martin's just like, alright, but see this title? We're gonna get right to it.
We're gonna get right. It's no like, ooh, this doesn't happen until the midpoint of the movie. It's like, no, after about 5 minutes, those billboards are up and they say what they say. The movie starts and I'm like, okay, interesting. And then it just immediately happens, and I'm like, ooh, like,
I love
this is
what
gonna
the
cause some
billboards
problems.
say.
Yeah,
It's
me
so
too.
great.
It is. It's so good, and everyone in this movie is great.
Yep.
It's a performance movie where there's no such thing as good.
Yep.
Everybody in this movie is great. Sam Rockwell is great. Woody Harrelson is great. Frances McDormand is great. And that runs the gamut. That runs the gamut from like the hyper real to the hyperbolic. Like Sam Rockwell's character is a little off the rails. We'll put it that way. But then you have like characters like Frances McDormand's character and Woody Harrelson's character that are a lot more grounded in the real world. I also like the device of no resolution as resolution, because there's no resolution in that movie at all, and the movie ends while they may be on the way to resolution potentially.
I mean, yeah,
although
that was a great ending.
It's true. Like I don't want to spoil the last line in the movie, basically, but like. Again, it's no resolution as resolution, and sometimes that can be really jarring and problematic, and at the end of what you feel is a good movie can kind of be a bitter pill to swallow. But it was perfect. For this movie, tonally, it was perfect. It was exactly the way to end that movie. At a rating of 85 out of 100, my first 85, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri is my number 12 best movie of 2017.
So speaking of Ebbing, Missouri,
yes.
I'm going back to Japan for my next pick.
Perfect.
So I'm going back. I'm going way back now. I'm going
direct flight from Ebbing, Missouri to Japan.
I'm going to a director that makes a shit ton of movies. Takashi Miike, I think that's how you pronounce it. He made a movie called Blade of the Immortal, which, again, a revenge flick. But this speaks to a very specific type of revenge flick that I love. Because I don't know, I got this thing for like samurai revenge flicks, especially like Lady Snowblood, like swords cutting off limbs, blood squirting. I don't know. It's just like a very specific interest in movies that I have. So Blade of the Immortal is that, and the fight choreography is so good that I just love watching him slice and dice a gazillion dudes on his path to victory.
I mean, who doesn't?
Yeah, it's just satisfying to me. Now, surprisingly, Miike, who has been known to have some very graphic things, he's a little bit restrained in the amount of gore they should. Now, mind you, there's still a lot of blood. Yeah. But he's a little restrained. So yeah, I won't go on too much about it. Because I doubt you've seen this one.
Unfortunately, I didn't. I didn't think it was on the radar, but
I didn't think this was a priority for you. Because this is like a difference between us. You know, we both have our own stuff.
It's the difference between me and you.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so my number 11 for me, my ending to the video, because I know we still got you, is true. Blade of the Immortal.
Very nice. So Tyler's capped off. Well, his movies are done. But I got one more. And it's a movie that I don't know whether you actually got around to seeing. My number 11 best movie of 2017 is Silence, and this is a 2016 cheater. So Silence is the story of 2 Jesuit priests played by Andrew Garfield and my boyfriend Adam Driver, who I can't remember where they're originally from. I want to say Portugal, and they're traveling to Japan to try to locate their mentor. It's one of those movies that, like, as soon as you say the word Christianity, people are like, oh, okay, it's a Christian movie. Skip. You don't have to be a Christian to really enjoy this movie. So, just because you hear Christian movie, or movie that involves Christianity, just don't think immediately like, oh, I have to be a Christian to like this. Yeah, you definitely don't.
It's not the same kind of Christian movie as, like, a God's Not Dead.
Right,
that
exactly.
Is preachy.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a very balanced viewpoint, and it's based on it's set, I guess, against like actual historical precedent of the persecution of Christians in Japan, because there was a spread of Christianity in Japan, and then there was a gigantic rejection of Christianity in Japan, where basically Christians were being murdered. The story's compelling. At times the story is absolutely brutal, and the performances obviously are excellent from your lead trio. When you have a trio at the lead of your movie of Andrew Garfield, Adam Driver, and Liam Neeson, you're gonna get it's not going to be on the level of what I like to call performance pornography. Andrew Garfield, I think, is maybe even a little underrated.
Yeah,
because, I mean, between this and, like, Hacksaw Ridge last year, where his performance was really good, it's another movie that really well employs the use of sound, and that runs the gamut from these absolute, like, roaring crescendos to basically abject dead silence. And it uses sound as narrative in some way, as a supplement to the narrative. The whole movie from beginning to end is just insanely well crafted. It's so beautifully shot. I mean, obviously it's Scorsese. It's not like Scorsese's just going to be like, handy cam, whatever, right? So there's a couple of silly moments in the movie. There's one point, like the spoilers, one of the two characters dies. But the movie is not diminished at all by a few silly moments. So at a rating of 85 out of 100, Silence is my number 11 best movie of 2017. Hey folks, you made it! You made it to the end of the video! We went from number 30 all the way to number 11 in our top 30 best movies of 2017. If you watched from beginning to end, I'm gonna lose my pen. Just absolutely, like that's just, you guys are the best. With that said, you better come back tomorrow because tomorrow is the real capper. It's the top 10 best movies of 2017. Plus, we're gonna drop dime right here, right now. Here are your extras. Here are your little tidbits, your bonus, your thank you for going through the whole awards. This is your extra material that you're going to get in tomorrow's video. At various points throughout the year, I've posed the question on my social media, hey, what's your favorite movie of the year so far? And throughout the year, I've been keeping tally, I've been keeping count, and we are going to drop dime before we get into our top 10 on the fan favorite, fan voted best movies of 2017. Before we prove them wrong by telling you what were really the best movies of 2017. And once we've dropped dime on that and exactly what we think were the best movies of this year, we're going to give you a little tidbit into this year. We're going to let you know what our 5 most anticipated movies of 2018 are going to be. So make sure that you come back tomorrow or wait a couple of minutes, get on to the next video, check out our top 10 and some extra bonus material for you. We'll see you in a few minutes.
Bye.